February 27, 1943. The Telemark region of German-occupied Norway. A biting wind whips across the Hardangervidda plateau, a vast, frozen wilderness. Below, shrouded in the pre-dawn gloom, lies the Vemork hydroelectric plant, a sprawling industrial complex clinging precariously to a sheer cliff face. 9 figures, clad in snow camouflage, begin a perilous descent into a 660-foot-deep ravine, a chasm of ice and shadow. They are not soldiers launching a frontal assault, but saboteurs, ghosts in the night, carrying explosives and a burden far heavier than their packs, the fate of the world. Their target is a substance almost unknown to the public, yet vital to the most terrifying weapon humanity has ever conceived: heavy water. They move with silent determination towards a heavily guarded fortress, risking everything for a strike that no one believes can succeed. How can a handful of men, armed with little more than courage and skis, hope to derail the atomic ambitions of the Third Reich? The year is 1942. World War II rages, and across Europe, the Nazi war machine crushes nations under its heel. But in the shadows, another, more insidious race is unfolding: the race for the atomic bomb. German scientists, including Nobel laureate Werner Heisenberg, are actively pursuing nuclear fission, seeking to harness its destructive power. A critical component for their uranium machine is deuterium oxide, known commonly as heavy water, a substance essential for moderating nuclear chain reactions. The world's only facility capable of producing heavy water on an industrial scale is the Norsk hydro plant at Vemork, nestled deep within the Norwegian mountains. Enter Joachim Ronneberg. Born in Ålesund, Norway, in 1919, Ronneberg is a young man of 23, a natural leader with a calm demeanor and an unwavering resolve. When Germany invades Norway in April 1940, Ronneberg, like many of his countrymen, refuses to accept occupation. He escapes to Scotland in 1941 with 8 friends by boat, joining the Norwegian Independent Company 1, or Company Lane, a special operations unit trained by the British Special Operations Executive, SOE, for sabotage missions in occupied Norway. He is trained in demolition, weaponry, and silent killing techniques, honing skills that will soon be tested to their absolute limits. The Allies are acutely aware of the German heavy water production at Vemork. Intelligence reports indicate that by early 1942, production, based on a German method, has increased to 100 kilograms per month, with further increases planned. The prospect of Hitler wielding an atomic weapon is a nightmare that haunts Allied strategists. Vemork becomes a top priority target, a seemingly impregnable industrial complex that must be neutralized at all costs. But the challenge is immense. The plant is not merely a factory, it is a fortress, guarded by nature and by German might. The Vemork plant is a marvel of engineering, built into the side of a steep mountainside, overlooking the Rjukanfossen waterfall. Its sheer location makes it incredibly difficult to attack. The facility sits on an icy ledge 600 feet above the Mana River, with the only direct access being a single-lane suspension bridge, heavily guarded by German troops, machine gun nests, and floodlights. The surrounding hillsides are riddled with minefields and barbed wire fences. German patrols sweep the grounds frequently, and troop barracks are positioned nearby. The Germans consider the deep, treacherous ravine in front of the plant impassable by any other means than the bridge, believing it offers an unbreachable natural defense. The Allies, specifically the British SOE, are determined to stop the heavy water production. An initial attempt, Operation Freshman, is launched in November 1942. It is a large-scale commando raid involving 34 British Royal Engineers transported by 2 gliders, intending to link up with a 4-man Norwegian advance party already on the ground, code-named Grouse. The mission is a catastrophic failure. Both gliders crash in terrible weather conditions, one into a mountain, the other crash landing after its tow rope breaks. Of the 41 men involved, some die in the crashes, and the survivors are captured by the Gestapo, tortured, and brutally executed under Hitler's infamous commando order. The Germans find maps in the wreckage clearly indicating Vemork as the target, immediately alerting them to the plant's strategic importance and prompting a significant increase in security. This disaster casts a long, dark shadow over any future attempts. The SOE now faces immense skepticism. How can a small team succeed where a larger, better equipped force failed so completely and tragically? No one believes it is possible to penetrate Vemork without heavy saws. Ultis, or worse, another total loss. The odds seem impossible. The Germans are now on high alert, convinced that the Allies will try again. They are all wrong. The lessons learned from freshmen, particularly the need for a stealthier, more localized approach, will prove crucial. The task falls to a small group of Norwegians, men intimately familiar with the brutal Norwegian winter, highly skilled in survival, and driven by a deep love for their occupied homeland. The remnants of the initial Norwegian reconnaissance team, Graus, Jens Anton Poulsen, Arne Kjelstrup, Knut Haugland, and Claus Helberg, are already enduring a brutal existence on the Hardangervidda plateau. Dropped in October 1942, they are tasked with gathering intelligence and preparing a landing site for the British gliders of Operation Freshman. After Freshman's failure, they are cut off, isolated in the vast, frozen wilderness. Their radio, crucial for communication with London, runs out of power. They survive for months on what little they can hunt. Deep snow covers the ground, making movement treacherous. They subsist on moss and lichen, mirroring the diet of reindeer, until, just before Christmas, they manage to kill a reindeer, a vital source of sustenance that saves them from starvation. This prolonged period in the harsh environment hardens them, transforming them into ghosts of the mountains, perfectly adapted to the unforgiving terrain. Back in Britain, despite the Freshman debacle, the resolve to destroy Vemork remains. Major Leif Tronstad, a Norwegian chemistry professor who helped design the Vemork plant, is instrumental in convincing Allied command that a small, highly trained sabotage team, comprised entirely of Norwegians, could succeed where a larger force failed. He provides invaluable insights into the plant's layout and vulnerabilities. The new mission, code-named Operation Gunnerside, is meticulously planned. A replica of the heavy water plant is constructed at the SOE's Special Training School in Hatfield, Hertfordshire, allowing the saboteurs to practice placing charges with pinpoint accuracy. Lieutenant Joachim Ronneberg, at just 23 years old, is selected to lead Operation Gunnerside. He is known for his calm under pressure and his exceptional aptitude for military training. Ronneberg hand-picks his team: 2nd Lieutenant Knut Haugland, Sergeant Frederick Kaiser, 2nd Lieutenant Kasper Idland, Sergeant Hans Storhag, and Sergeant Birger Stromsheim. All are expert skiers and seasoned outdoorsmen, crucial for survival in the Norwegian winter. Unusually, they are fully briefed on the catastrophic fate of Operation Freshman and the German Commando Order, understanding the grim reality of their potential capture. Each man is issued a cyanide capsule, a final resort against torture. On February 16, 1943, Ronneberg and his 5-man Gunnerside team parachute into Norway under the cover of heavy snowfall. They wear British uniforms beneath their snowsuits, a calculated risk to ensure that if they are captured or killed, the Germans blame the British, not the local Norwegian resistance, potentially sparing the civilian population from reprisals. However, the drop is not without incident. They land approximately 45 kilometers, 28 miles, from their intended drop zone, straight into a ferocious blizzard. For 5 grueling days, they battle the elements, enduring sub-zero temperatures and whiteout conditions in an uninhabited hunting cabin, before finally linking up with the Graus team, now renamed Swallow, on February 21. The combined force now numbers 10 men, though 2, Knut Haugland and Torstein Skinnerland, are designated as radio operators and remain at a distance to maintain contact with London. The remaining 8 men prepare for the impossible. The combined team spends several days reconnoitering the Vemork plant. Claus Helberg, a member of the original Swallow team, has already conducted several reconnaissance missions, providing vital intelligence on the plant's defenses and potential routes. They observe the German guards, the floodlights, the barbed wire. There are three main options for approaching the plant: descend from the mountains above, an area now heavily mined, cross the heavily guarded single-lane suspension bridge, or brave the deep gorge, cross the partially frozen Mana River, and then climb the 500-foot, 150-meter, cliff face on the other side. The Germans consider the ravine impassable, focusing their defenses on the bridge and the plateau. Ronneberg calls for a vote among his men. The choice is clear, albeit terrifying: the gorge. It is the route the Germans least expect. "We didn't think about whether it was dangerous or not," Ronneberg later states. "We didn't think about our retreat. The most important decision you made during the whole war was the day you decided to leave Norway to report for duty. You concentrated on the job and not on the risks." On the evening of February 27, 1943, at approximately 8 p.m., the 9 commandos leave their hideout. They are dressed in white camouflage snowsuits, blending almost perfectly with the snow-covered landscape. Each man carries about 35 pounds of equipment, including submachine guns, pistols, grenades, and plastic explosives. They also carry chloroform, intended for silently disabling any guards they might encounter. The wind howls, covering the sounds of their approach. They ski several miles through the dense pine stands, the terrain uneven and pocked with snowdrifts. The woods become too steep, forcing them to continue on foot, clambering through the heavy, wet snow. As they emerge from the forest, they hear the low hum of their target, the Vemork hydroelectric plant. The descent into the gorge is treacherous. They navigate the icy, 660-foot, 200-meter, ravine, a sheer drop into the darkness. The wind and ice make the going extremely difficult, but they manage to reach the bottom without significant incident. The Mana River, swollen from recent melt, flows over ice, but they find a ford and cross it, slipping occasionally on the submerged ice. Now, the most physically demanding part of the approach begins: the ascent of the 500-foot cliff on the opposite side. Using ice axes and ropes, they meticulously climb the sheer rock face, their crampons finding purchase on the frozen surfaces. The climb is slow, arduous, and utterly silent. They reach the top, emerging onto a narrow ledge where a railway line runs, leading directly to the rear of the plant. This route, a local contact had assured them, is relatively unguarded. They follow the railway line to a massive metal gate. A heavy lock secures it. Ronneberg, with foresight, had purchased heavy-duty metal cutters in Cambridge months earlier, realizing that the saw provided by their British trainers would be too slow and noisy. He silently snips the lock. The gate swings open. They are inside the facility perimeter. The team splits into two groups: a covering party of 5 men and a demolition party of 4. The covering party takes up positions near the gate, barracks, and bridge, ready to engage any German guards. The demolition party, led by Ronneberg, moves swiftly towards the hydrogen production plant, the heart of the heavy water operation. They locate a steel cellar door, leading to the electrolysis room, where the precious heavy water is produced. Inside, they encounter only one Norwegian employee, a night watchman. The watchman, surprised but understanding, offers no resistance and does not raise the alarm. He even assists them in navigating the complex. Ronneberg and his demolition team, including Stromsheim and Kaiser, quickly move to the heavy water cells in the basement. These high-concentration cells are the target. They meticulously place plastic explosives on each cell, precisely where they had practiced on the replica in Britain. The charges are designed to destroy the cells and release their contents. As they finish placing the explosives, Ronneberg makes a critical decision. The planned fuse time is 2 minutes, intended to give them ample time to escape. But Ronneberg fears they might not hear the explosion once they are far enough away, creating agonizing uncertainty. He decides to shorten the fuses to just 30 seconds. This gives them barely half a minute to run for their lives after lighting the charges. Before igniting the fuses, Ronneberg turns to the Norwegian watchman. He tells him to run upstairs as fast as he can. Ronneberg later recounts telling the watchman, You just run around the corner, up the staircase, lie down and keep your mouth open until you hear the bang. There will be only one bang, so when it is over you can go down and watch the result. This advice to keep his mouth open is crucial to prevent his eardrums from bursting due to the pressure wave of the explosion. As a final, deliberate act, a Thompson submachine gun is intentionally left behind. This is a clear signal to the Germans that the sabotage is the work of British-trained commandos, not local resistance, in the hope of mitigating reprisals against the Norwegian civilian population. The fuses are lit. The demolition team sprints back through the steel cellar door, into the darkness of the plant, and towards their escape route. The flickering sparks of the short fuses are the only light in the heavy water cellar, a stark, terrifying countdown to destruction. Ronneberg shouts a final instruction to the Norwegian watchman, a desperate plea for safety, then turns and runs. The air crackles WITH anticipation. Every second stretches into an eternity. The demolition team bursts through the cellar door, their boots pounding on the concrete floor, the sound muffled by the thrum of the hydroelectric machinery. They race through the labyrinthine passages of the plant, the covering party already sprinting ahead, their figures barely visible in the dim light. They are a mere 20 yards away from the building when a deep, resonant rumble shudders through the ground beneath their feet. It is not the deafening roar they might have expected, but a muffled, powerful thud, swallowed largely by the thick concrete walls of the plant and the constant din of the power station. Yet, Ronneberg feels it, a tremor that confirms success. The heavy water cells, the very heart of the Nazi atomic dream, are shattered. Deuterium oxide, the priceless liquid, cascades from the ruptured tanks, gushing down drains and into the ground, irretrievably lost. Silence, relative and profound, follows the explosion. No alarms blare instantly. No shots ring out. The German guards, positioned primarily at the bridge and the plateau, remain oblivious, perhaps attributing the sound to a distant mine or the routine operations of the massive industrial complex. The saboteurs, regrouped just outside the perimeter, exchange quick, knowing glances. A wave of exhaustion, relief, and adrenaline washes over them. They have done it. Without firing a single shot, without a single casualty, they have struck a crippling blow. They melt back into the snowy landscape, heading for the ravine. The descent is now driven by urgency, but still executed with the same practiced precision. They cross the icy river, scramble up the opposite cliff, and reach their skis. The vast, silent Hardangervidda plateau awaits them, a refuge and a challenge. As dawn begins to break, painting the sky with a marvelous sunrise, Ronneberg looks back. We sat there very tired, very happy. Nobody said anything. That was a very special moment, he later recalls. They are free, for now, but the true test of their escape is only just beginning. The impact of Operation Gunnerside is immediate and profound. The explosion destroys approximately 500 kilograms, 1,100 pounds, of heavy water and crucial electrolysis equipment, halting production at Vemork for several months. The Germans, initially unaware of the true extent of the sabotage, soon realized the gravity of the attack. General Nikolaus von Falkenhorst, the German military commander in Norway, inspects the damage and reportedly calls it, "the finest coup I have seen in this war." A massive manhunt is immediately launched. Over 2,800 German soldiers fan out across the Telemark region, combing the mountains and valleys in search of the saboteurs. But the Norwegian commandos, masters of their terrain, are long gone. The team splits. 5 men, led by Ronneberg, embark on an epic 14-day, 400-kilometer, 250-mile, ski trek across the mountains to the safety of neutral Sweden, all while still wearing their British uniforms. The other 6 members hide out in Norway, continuing their resistance work, and are never caught. While the Vemork plant is eventually repaired and resumes heavy water production by May 1943, the delay is critical. The Allies, still concerned, launch a series of heavy bombing raids against Vemork in November 1943. A daylight attack by 140 American B-17 bombers drops 711 bombs on the plant and its vicinity. Although only 18 bombs directly hit the facility, causing damage and killing 22 Norwegian civilians, the raids convince the Germans that Vemork is too vulnerable. They decide to abandon heavy water production in Norway and move the remaining stocks and critical components to Germany. This final attempt by the Germans is also thwarted by Norwegian saboteurs. On February 20, 1944, a team led by Knut Haukelid, a member of the original gunnerside mission, sinks the ferry, Hydro, as it transports the heavy water across Lake Tinn. 8.5 kilograms of plastic explosives, fitted with alarm clock fuses, are placed in the bow. The ferry sinks within minutes, taking its vital cargo to a depth of 1,400 feet, 460 meters. 4 Germans and 14 Norwegians perish in this final, desperate act of sabotage, but the heavy water, and with it, Germany's most viable path to an atomic bomb, is lost forever. Operation Gunnerside is later recognized by the SOE as one of the most successful acts of sabotage in World War II. Historians agree that while the German atomic bomb program faced other obstacles, the destruction of Vemork's heavy water production significantly hindered their efforts, causing crucial delays they could not overcome before the war's end. Joachim Ronneberg returns to Norway after the war, receiving numerous decorations, including Norway's highest military honor, the War Cross with Sword, the British Distinguished Service Order, and the American Medal of Freedom with Silver Palm. He pursues a career in broadcasting, working as a journalist and editor for Norway's state broadcaster, NRK, until his retirement in 1988. For decades, he rarely speaks about the raid, but in his later years, concerned that younger generations are forgetting the lessons of the war, he begins to share his story, especially with schoolchildren. He emphasizes the importance of remembering what happened, stating, "There is a lot of talk about never again, but this is impossible if we don't remember what happened back then." Ronneberg passes away in 2018 at the age of 99, the last surviving member of Operation Gunnerside, leaving behind a legacy of extraordinary courage and a testament to how a small group of determined individuals can change the course of history. If this incredible story of courage and ingenuity moved you, subscribe to our channel for more forgotten tales of World War II. New documentaries every week. Which moment of Operation Gunnerside surprised you most? Comment below.